Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. We have a house full of not feeling great people. So started feeling better today. And so we went and I got, this class is not sponsored by anything, but for those of you that are in or on the replay crew, just know that you can always bring your snack, friends. These are really good. Costco has them. They also have them at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. They're called Sanders Small Batch Wonders, dark chocolate, sea salt caramels. And then these honeycomb candies, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's for the win. What about the mochi rice nuggets? What is going on, people? Can you see it? I'm not doing it like makeup where my hand is up here, please. These are going to stay close to me, not close to the camera. And then also these are pretty good too. Organic dark chocolate. I don't have to say organic. Dark chocolate half coated rice cake thins. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna probably snack on emojis right now. But anyway, I'm gonna wait for a couple more people to get into class. I'm not that worried about it because you guys know where you are in class. You know you can reach me. I'm an email away. I'm a phone call away. Not as much of a phone call away as I'm a text message away, right? I'm a text message away. I'm an email away. I'm a Zoom away. A Weem away. Anyway, all that being said, I hope you have a great day. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling okay. I had acupuncture today, which was pretty amazing. So yeah. I'm throwing caution to the wind. We have to finish appraisals. We started working on appraisals like weeks ago. I think even prior to the election. Actually, that's true. It was the week before the election. We got to get that done. Whether you're in my property management class, my econ class, my practices class, principal, legal aspects. Who am I missing, everyone? Whatever classes that you're in with me, it's really important for us to know about appraisals and how appraisals work. So we're going to trip forward through this exact same thing that we started on. And I just unshared the screen, but that's okay. I'm in a little bit of a sing-songy well, actually, I think I'm always in a sing-songy mood. So let's get this cooking good looking. Let's go to the slideshows. I'm always asked by the students. I'll be like, hey, we're going to be talking about appraisals. Immediately, students are like, what about the state exam? Well, let's confront the elephant in the room. The more information you know, the more times you hear the same information, the better off you are. If you're in any of my UCLA classes, Glendale Community College, Los Angeles Community College, or even Calibri Group, which is they own Rockwell, allied schools, you name it, whatever class you're coming to me through, whether it's student engagement where I do live lecturing 6 hours, 4 hours, or 4 hours a day, or if you're an independent study student, it's really important for you to be aware that the more information that you're getting, even if in the class you're like, yeah, I learned that exact same thing in my economics class, or I learned that exact same thing in my practice class, I'm not learning anything new. If you're catching that you already learned it, you're in a better place. There's lots of questions on the state exam. There's a lot of new information. So I want us to go over some information that's just been consistent, which is the appraisal process. Okay. Now let's talk about valuations. What's a valuation, or what's the value? Well, it depends. How do you value something? Some of you on the replay crew are going to be like, well, I valued my job over coming into a non-mandatory Zoom. And there's value in that. I totally get it. I'm still a student, but I was a full-time employed and full-time student. And I know a bunch of you guys are as well. So I just want to encourage you, you can't go wrong by taking a step forward in your employment career, your education career. That's where value comes from. Where do you put your value? Some people put their value in the containers that they drink out of, their jewelry, the type of phone they have. They value those things. Well, an appraiser is looking at a home in the exact same way that you and I look at things that we want to value or that we think have value, and they have value to us. We're going to be talking about how that works. Now, some of the most important services a listing agent can provide are to be familiar with how the worth of a property is determined and how to explain it to the client. So one of the things you're finding in my classes potentially is that I talk to you guys a lot about vocabulary. And a lot of the time, what I'm basically saying to you is, hey, if you know this term, you're going to be able to answer any questions associated with this term, or you're going to know if that's one of the four answers at the bottom of the question, whether or not that works or not. Okay. It's imperative for us to be able to understand the contractual law, the agency law side of things, but also be able to talk to our clients in a language that makes sense to them. So let me give you an example. I was talking to a couple of my friends, and they were talking at this level of where we were discussing some information up here, but we were at like a local diner. We weren't, I'm not saying there aren't other affluent people in the room, but it was just kind of like, hey, why don't we just talk at a normal, like, reading level, conversation level? We don't have to use these, the my dad used to call them degree words or PhD words, because they're the big words, or the flute and whatever. And it's like, no, 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 let's bring it down to layman's terms or casual conversation, because it's going to sound a little uppity. We don't need to be sounding like, let's just have a chat, let's have a cash soch, let's do something. Okay. So bringing that kind of stuff, that's what we do with the appraisal. We explain it to the homeowner. A lot of times homeowners know what an appraisal is, but why it is, what is it, where did they find the value, how did they come to that value? Well, the appraiser is going to ask from us, what is this appraisal for? And that's what we're going to be discussing. Okay. So it's not just explaining it to the client, but knowing the type of appraisal that we need to help them. What is the purpose of the appraisal? Is it to the transfer of property ownership, meaning buying the property from someone else, selling the property to somebody else, getting it transferred to you through an inheritance? Is it financing and credit? Is it the lending institution that's needing the appraisal so that they can confirm the value? Taxation. Welcome to America. We love to tax you, right? And so when I say we, it's not the we of me, it's the we of them. I don't want to be part of that we, if you know what I mean. Okay. Taxation. We have our properties assessed on an annual basis by the assessor's office. They are going to figure out the value of the homes so that they can tax you. Insurance companies want to know the value of the property so that if it gets burned down, they can cover the cost of having the house rebuilt. And then there's the last but not least, condemnation. The property's being condemned. Well, why is the property being condemned? Well, let's go appraise it and find out if this house, like the state that it's in, right? Okay. Thanks. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the chat. An appraisal on the page says is an act or process of developing an opinion of value. I found this really cool image on Etsy. I can give you guys the link to the page. This is, people make these, or somebody made this, or is selling it or buying it in bulk or whatever. I love this scale. We need to understand that the appraisal, where the value comes in, the appraiser is evaluating, okay, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and all the houses in the area are 4-bedroom, 2 bathrooms. Okay, so he's having to, or she's having to, or they're having to identify the value. I see some weird hair going on up here. I thought I did my messy bun cool, but I guess it's extra messy. Anyway, that might bother me later. I don't know. We'll get back to it. Okay. So we're looking at the value. The appraiser's looking at the value, trying to find what the value of the home is. What does value mean? It's the present worth of rights to future benefit that comes from property ownership. So when it comes to appraisals in the purchasing process, value is the present worth. So when Adam and I bought this property, we had an appraisal done on the property. Did we have an appraisal done on the property? Linda carried the mortgage. Let's just say we did. I don't want to go deep. I'm definitely when I don't feel well, the ADHD is like a lot higher. Not that I've been diagnosed, but we know what we know, right? In order to know what this house is worth, we want to have it appraised so that we know what our future value, there's like that future benefit, right? Should we buy the house? Yeah, the houses in the area were going for $500,000. We got this one for $350 because it needed more work to be done on it, and we've been doing the work on it progressively over the last 2 years. And so we saw that future benefit, that the value of the home would be up where we're very close, it's higher than what we paid for it, but because we paid what we paid for it, we put the work into it, we know there's going to be a future benefit. So the present worth, When we bought it, they had listed it for what they felt the value of the home was, basically just the land because it was in really bad shape. And of course, we bought it knowing that future benefit. That's where that value comes in. Appraisers give their opinion of value, and they do it in writing. I don't have any paper in the off. I have kind of been taking, we've been moving a lot of stuff. Let's see if I could bring up something. Let's say that this is not an appraisal. This is California Real Estate Magazine. I'm just going to say this is an appraisal for the sake of the sake, because an appraiser gives their opinion of value in a written statement. This is not an appraisal report, but for the sake of this, the appraiser has to put it in writing. Now, does it have to be in writing like this, or can it be like my iPad or my phone? It's even if it's digital, it's in writing. It's communicating the value. The appraiser not only communicates the value, but then signs their name on the dotted line and dates it. So as of that date, so as let's say as an example, John Doe appraiser signed the appraisal on our property November 20th. As of November 20th, the value of our property is this. And that appraisal has a best by date. It doesn't really call it a best by date, but those appraisals are only good for a short amount of time, 30, 60 days. Why? Because we don't know where the market's going to be in 60 days or 90 days. You can't go 2 years ago, my house was worth $2 million. Well, it might not be worth $2 million today, or it might be worth significantly more. If you think about down where they put the new stadium in, where they're working on bringing in the Olympics and doing the different things. The values of the properties in that area have incrementally, actually exponentially increased. So let's talk about the first story. Market value has very little to do with the original cost. I kind of went there with you already, right? Neither cost nor appreciation is considered an essential element of value. Let me say that again. Neither cost nor appreciation is considered an essential element of value. Okay, so let's give you an example. It's a pretty house, right? Pamela and John wanted to buy their first home. They looked at several with their real estate agent, and then they finally decided on one that their real estate agent basically was like, this is not in your price range. But they were like, you know what? We know that this property is beyond our means. We'll put in an offer of what we can afford. This property has been on the market for quite some time. It's beautiful, but like there's something about the situation. Let's just offer what we can afford. Let's see what the seller has to say. So they made a hopeful offer, a very low offer. Their real estate agent most likely was not happy about the idea because it would make the real estate agent look foolish. But as a real estate agent myself, I'm going to tell you right now, most agents out there are going to talk however they're going to talk, very high school mentality in a lot of places. So just be who you are and just be consistent and just get those deals closed. Okay. Unknown to Pamela and John, who put in that low offer, the seller lost his job and was desperate to sell. So he accepted their offer, which was well below market value. So for those of you that are like, well, Kathy, this kind of stuff can't happen. I live in wherever you live. Well, our house was listed for $476. And then I talked to Adam about buying it at that price because it was one of the lowest prices in Los Angeles County. And we looked at like 3 or 4 other properties, drove by, thought about it. This property went off the market. I was a little bummed because I had great parking. And I was like, well, it's not the right one for us. It's pretty small. It has a lot of work that it needs. It came back on the market and it dropped almost $100,000. And I was like, okay, let's call the agent. Like something's going on. And it had been off the market a few times. Now you might be saying, yeah, but your house doesn't look like this. No, I mean, I don't even think I think our house could fit in one of these garages. Ours is a small home, but it's what we could afford. And the price dropped to a place where it was like, we have to do this. So there are opportunities out there. What I'm trying to share with you as a person who's coming into the industry, you need to be who you are. You need to be real. I know I was talking to you guys about Trader Joe's and Costco snacks, but the reality of the situation is people that want to buy a home, that is a significant purchase in their lives, 30 years of the rest of their life. And they're going to be real with you, and you better be real with them, because in this process, something could go wrong, and it usually does, but that doesn't mean it's a bad situation. We grow, in these situations. Today's a day of going to Trader Joe's and buying snacks. I'm being real with you. I drive a Volkswagen minivan. I liked iced coffee, Uggs, yoga pants, messy buns. I'm not great about getting my hair highlighted to cover the gray, obviously. Whatever. Like that's who I that's I've got to be that way. I want you guys to be real too. Your appraiser is going to be real about the value. You need to be real with the clientele that you have, because we can't always be in this entertainment um like I was what were we watching? What were you watching? He's not in here. He can't hear me. After midnight, and one of the Selling Sunset real estate agents came on, and she stayed in her character, and it was really cool that she did that. But in the same respect, I'm like, oh, that's got to be daunting. I'm also like I could probably be your mother. I'm like 20 some odd years older than her. Do whatever works best for you and makes you happy. Okay, at the end of the day, that's really what matters. You've got to be able to sleep at night. This job, sometimes you don't. Okay, so getting back to appraisals, types of value. So the value of a parcel usually can be categorized by two basic types of value. You might be saying, Kathy, what's a parcel? Parcel is a piece of land. The parcel is the land that your home is on. You actually have a parcel number, an APN number associated with each of these properties. So when they say the parcel, it's usually categorized by the market value or the value in use. Or am I having visitors? Well, hello, this is Lovey. She's doing so much better. What do we say, love? Hi. We say hello. You don't want to say hello? Okay. What about you, Joy Joy? You want to come say hi? Come on. Hurry, hurry. We're in class. No? Okay. Well, I guess it's just gonna be love. Okay. Market value and value in use. What does that mean? When it comes to appraisals, there's two types of ways to evaluate or value the land: the market value and then the value in use. So let's look at those two terms. That's what the T and the D, the T/D is on the PowerPoint. Market value, objective value, the price the property would bring in if freely offered. Market value or fair market value could also be known as, it could be also known as those. Now, how do you know what the fair market value is? Well, you've got to have a willing buyer and a willing seller that will communicate and go into a bilateral contract, right? And at that point, then you will know the market value. You will know the fair market value. Um, Value in use, or the utility value, would be something associated with commercial properties or properties that are investment properties that are being rented out or leased. The value in use, can the property be used for what it was built for, or what's the utility value? What's the reasoning behind having that? If you have a commercial building that has an automobile company that does engines and oil changes and all the other stuff, there's a utility value there if they have the equipment to raise and lower the car, take off the tires, all that. All of that stuff is already built in, especially the language is not languaging, obviously. But the piece of equipment that you use to have the car above you so you can do all the work and stuff in a safe manner, something like that is a very it's a trade fixture, but it's a type of trade fixture that might be left at that building. It might not be taken to the next facility if somebody wants to stay in that. Can I help you? Did you want me to pick you up? I might have to take a minute and put on some bird chirping and stuff in the other room so that we don't have growling dogs at me, because I'm not carrying everybody. But you might see we might have a stack of puppies. Come here. Come on, come on. No, not so much. All right. Give me just a moment. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. I had to make sure that the DOGs had some stuff going on in the other spaces so that they would be able to be engaged in that and not come in. Anyway. All right. Market value, value in use. We already talked about market value or the objective value, or you could call it the fair market value. And then we have the value in use, the utility value. That's the side of things where if you have an investment property, a commercial building, we talked a little bit about if it's an automobile shop, what if it's a beauty salon, any of those places where they have trade fixtures that need to be put into the properties. If the trade fixtures are left for whatever reason, the value of that property, most commercial buildings, when you go into a lease, you go into like a shoebox version of a property that's empty, it's gutted, and then you put in what you need in order to flourish, right? If the people prior to you don't take their trade fixtures out, you might not want to rent that or lease that property because the trade fixtures in there are not going to work for you. If it was an automobile center and you want a pizza kitchen, it's going to be a tough situation, right? What are the amenities? Well, when you're selling a property, these are the features that may add value. They may not. Let me give you an example. Amenities are subjective. What do you mean by that, Kathy? Well, they have subjective value. They could be value, they may have value, they may not. Subjective value is when a user's preference regarding amenities actually decreases the value. The value. This is a beautiful two different versions of a green bathroom. I actually have another one that's a little bit dated with a very bright green color, but I removed that because you can say, oh, that's extreme, but these are subdued greens, and this might still be too extreme for certain people. So before listing a home, this is the example. The owner remodeled the bathroom using her favorite color of green or layers of green. If the prospective buyer also likes green, then they may be willing to pay more for the home with the remodeled bathroom. And if they don't like it, then we have the other issue, right? So, however, a person who prefers neutral colors may overlook the value of the remodel and offer considerably less for the home or look for a lower priced comparable property. They might not see that the marble, as an example, in this room, or this is Italian porcelain. I'm not 100% sure because Italian porcelain, you can print really beautiful marble imaging on it, or granite or whatever. This is a very expensive bathroom, but it might not constitute somebody wanting to buy it because it might not be exactly, although I think this is AI because that's kind of weird cabinetry right here, but just run with me, ladies and gents. All of that being said, even you might even be saying, oh, well, but these are neutral colors, Kathy. Right. But these might not be what each person determines to be neutral colors. Everybody has their own idea of what is good or what is not good or what is going to live well. This is very modern, right? This is more classic. And you might find that this bathroom is going to meet some people's needs and they feel like it's neutral, and this is going to be outlandish and too extreme. We have a friend that lives in Vegas, and they had a completely the master bathroom was completely white marble throughout the whole entire thing, all the walls, everything. It was beautiful, and he had it removed, and I lost my mind in my head. I didn't say anything to him, and I remember Adam saying, well, oh, okay, why? He's like, it just was too cold. And I was like, put some rugs in that bathroom, bro. Like, but anyway, less is more. It's opinions, right? I didn't pay, I'm not paying the mortgage. He has the right to have whatever he wants in his house. What are the elements that create value? That's a good question. There are four. We have demand, utility, scarcity, and transferability. Now, when we talk about, before we go to demand, utility, scarcity, let's talk about transferability. Properties that you're interested in transferring or selling, they have to be in a good they have to be in a good place, right? It means that the title of the property is unclouded and it's marketable. So You can't go and try to sell a, especially if you're like, let's say as an example, you're in the middle of a divorce and you go to try to sell the home, but the parties to the marriage don't agree. The property is not transferable. There's a cloud on title, meaning that there's a problem with the title. The owners of the property do not agree. Okay. Demand, the desire to buy and obtain a property. Demand, people, anybody that's interested in that, the element of value. If there's demand, if there's high demand, the value can increase. What about utility? The ability for the property to satisfy the need and the desire, not just shelter, income, but the amenities. Does it have everything you guys want? This is 30 years of the rest of your life. Is there a place for you to park? Is there a place to put a pool? Is there already a pool there? Et cetera, et cetera. Scarcity refers to the availability of the commodity on the marketplace. If there isn't a lot of this particular property, there's high demand, and there isn't a lot of this 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom in one particular school district, that's an availability issue, right? And we know that building doesn't happen quickly. The ultimate test of functional utility, because we've talked about utility being the ability for a property to satisfy the needs and the desires, the ultimate test of functional utility is marketability. Utility, marketability, it's really important to know. Will this help people want this property? Now, we as agents need to make sure we can market that property to be beneficial. Now, how does value come about? Value is created, maintained. It's modified and destroyed by the relationships of the following 4 forces. We've got physical characteristics. We've got the political or government regulations. We've got economic influences, and we have social ideals. And social ideals is a really big thing. Now, the rest of it's big too, but I'm just trying to say they're societally. When I was growing up, you had you're supposed to have 2.3 kids. I don't know what the 0.3 was. I never really, that was just kind of a weird Solomon, King Solomon like story kind of situation that kind of weirded me out. But anyway, I digress. 2.3 kids, white picket fence, there were like these social ideals. And then it got to the point where Adam and I were talking. It was like, okay, if we buy this house, we're essentially paying what we would pay rent if we moved somewhere to pay rent from where we were at. And so it was basically like pull the trigger on this or go and rent somewhere else. And we're actually in a place where this is financially less expensive than renting, if you can believe it. So let's talk about physical characteristics. The physical characteristics include environmental forces. So quality of conveniences. Are there quality of conveniences where you are, Kathy? Yes. Ergo, why I'm sharing with you my Trader Joe's haul today. We've got 3 Trader Joe's within a 10-minute space. We've got Target within 5 minutes from us. We've got Costco right down the road, just right a smidge down. Like Joann's Fabrics is right between the two. So quality of convenience, availability of schools. This is my school. This is my space. This is my beautiful wife. This is so available for schools. For me, this works because I can do online, right? What about shopping? Kind of already said that one. Public transportation. We aren't near the metro like we were before, but I'm not far from the metro. And I think I'm close to one of the USC campuses, and I can take an Uber there. I think we're like 6 minutes away, and then get on the metro or the train. What about churches? Online or temples or synagogues or whatever? We got all of that stuff within our area as well. And then similarities of land use, we do not have, but we'll talk about that later. What about environmental forces? That's another one of the forces that influences value. Climate. We're in Southern California. Sweet climate. Soil. We don't have a soil issue here. Topography, ocean, and or mountains. Environmental forces are a really big deal. We actually live in a kind of more mountainous area, or hilly. It's not really mountains, hilly area, and we're considered to be in a wildfire area, which is crazy. And we're only about 11 miles from the ocean. So I was going to say 17 minutes right now, but probably an hour normally in the regular traffic. Now, physical characteristics of a property. Well, the location or the situs. This may be the most important factor influencing value as far as highest and best use. This particular home you see on the screen, its location is pretty sweet, if I do say so myself, but this might not be the right location for everyone. This is a very unique property, right? So when we talk about properties, are they, does your client want a remote property? If they want a remote property, it might be harder to find value. What about the size of the property? This is so cute. It's in Maine, and I have the article associated with this tiny house. The use of the property may be determined by the width and the depth of the land. This particular tiny home was put on this piece of land because it's a thin, long piece of land, ergo, so is the house. And so when we talk about the size of the property, it's really important to understand value along with that as well. What about when it comes to usually commercial properties, corner influence, the benefit from more exposure? You'll notice in this image over here, the physical characteristics of this building is that it has a corner influence, meaning it has more face than just the front. It's got the corner, and then if you go around the side, it's got the corner as well. So that's why we have now this. I took this corner lot image. There's a video down here you guys can watch later. But really, the corner is the area where the street is. It's going to be harder to see this as a face if this is a fenced-in backyard or a side yard, right? But the face of where the building is facing out onto the street, that gives you so many opportunities to see what that building is offering. What about thoroughfare conditions? Thoroughfare means ingress and egress. How do you get in? How do you get out? We live on a private road. We are on a frontage road to a very busy street. And if that frontage road wasn't there, it was already kind of a tough sell when we bought it, but that would be a really tough sell to try to get onto that busy street. And it's busy. I'm surprised there aren't any more accidents than there actually are. So the thoroughfare condition, the width of the street, the traffic congestion, the condition of the pavements affect the value of the property fronting on those streets. And I love this image because there's no dotted line down the middle. So it really does. It looks like there's two motorcyclists or two bikes or two mopeds or something right here. So you can tell that on this road, it's a tough sell to get more than one. You can't have one car. You can't have a car coming and going at the same time. It feels very much so like you're going to have to kind of weave around each other or move to get through. It's a very tight squeeze. You might not want to live on the street. Not only that, notice how close the buildings are to the sidewalk. Okay, this is not in any of the books. I just got a note saying, can we find any of the stuff in our books? No. I pulled images online from online, but that's usually when I'll look up something like physical characteristics, comma, thoroughfare conditions, and then I'll hit image on Google and see what it brings up, just to try to help me give you a visualization of what it is that I'm talking to you about. But I hope, do you guys have any other questions? I hope that it makes sense when we talk about that thoroughfare condition, that moving, that ingress and egress through and through, because the term front foot defines the width of the property along the street. Now, this is a totally different street. Notice where the parking is. Now, this might be AI because it looks like we have a hovercraft with one wheel over here. I'm not 100% sure. These are all kind of melting into each other, but I like it because this is, you could say, the main street, right? And then the front foot in front of the properties defines the width of the property along the street. There's space to be able to get out and get into your car, and you're not moving. You're not in that main drag of traffic. You could say, hypothetically, that where we live, we actually do have what's considered a frontage road like this, but the houses are not that close to the sidewalk. Some of them are, but we're again further out. Thoroughfare conditions, the width of the streets, traffic congestion, the conditions of pavement affect the value of the property fronting on those streets. So this is a completely different image than this, right? But you can feel the congestion, at least I can here, less congestion here. The term front foot defines the width of the property along the street. So you've got this width right here before you technically hit the street. Now, that's kind of a, it's, I think they call these a road. But they call these a street. So let's go back to the other one. There is no distance, you know, there is no frontage, if you will. There is a lot of congestion here. All right. What about the depth table? A depth table is used to estimate the value of commercial properties. It helps determine the value based on the lot depth. It's primarily used when the lot depth constitutes a significant portion of the property's overall value. The reason I'm using this image is we have 3 homes that have an ocean view, and this home does not have the same view as this or this or this. And the way this house is being built, this house may throw some shade on these houses at some point during the day, right? If the sun sets to the left of the screen based on this image. Okay, that being said, the value of this home, if these two are not of the same parcel or the same lot, the value of this home is going to be significantly lower than this house or this house or this house. And there's a few reasons for that. One of them is this house might not even have the right to ocean views. And this house in the front could be built up like this house is over here. And this house is never going to see, my mom would say, it's not going to see the light of day. But the reality is you just go out the stairs and go down the path on the side and boom, you got an ocean view, but you don't have it from the house. So the depth table is really important. So let me give you another example of what I mean by that. Let's read it again. A depth table is used to estimate the value of commercial properties. So if we look at these 2 lots here and we see that there's a street all the way around lot A, and then on lot B, there's only a street right here, but there's no access to the building on these 3 sides. It only has this one side. The section along the street, so this piece right here would be worth $40,000. The next section back, this one here would be worth $30,000. The next one would be worth $20,000 and $10,000 and so on. So what they're talking about with that depth table is the value of the thing that makes it more valuable. And then as you scale back, it has less value. In the same way, this little guy up here is worth more than this one because of the views. It's got more to it. You might be saying, Kathy, it's still a beach town. It's still got kind of views ish. And no, I'm with you 1,000%. I'm just telling you the value of this property because it's got the better views. All right. Does that make sense? I'm gonna have a snack. Everybody take a 30-second snack break. I'm gonna chew. All right. Commercial properties. How do they value the property? Well, where's the exposure? The south and west side of business streets are usually preferred by shopkeepers because customers seek the shade. And you can visually see here in this little town, wherever this is on Google, that Google found for me. On this side, now, of course, there's nobody on the street at all. But on this side, in the middle of the summer, people are going to be on this side, especially if the sun is coming in on that side, although my hand, I'm mirroring. So, but if the shade is coming in, people are going to be walking through this area. People are going to be wanting to sit over here and having a little cappuccino or something, right? They're not going to be on the other side. It looks a bit, not that it's desolate, but it feels that way because it's hot. Can you imagine this in Fresno? I'm just kidding. I saw the chat. I'm like, yeah, I can totally imagine this in Fresno. What about a property's orientation? It's really important for us to be, this is something that's very unique to a listing that you can actually bring up. The placing of a building on its lot in relation to exposure to the elements is extremely important. The orientation of the building. If you own a building, or if you own a piece of property and they have had it engineered properly, I sold a property in Madeira that was engineered. The orientation of the building was not just about the sun coming up and going down, but it was also engineered for flooding. So there's a lot that goes into it. The daylight, um, and the heat that's coming in and going out, what is needed for the property. Are there solar panels? Are the solar panels on the side where the sun's coming in? There's a lot of identifiers if the building is already there. But if the building is set in such a way, a lot of like desert homes are set in a manner that a breeze will come through and cool the property off, or cool the roof off, that keeps the house cool. Orientation is key. What about plottage increment? By putting several small lots, the value of the assembled parcels will be increased. Now, this is a listing. I think I have the listing here on Zillow. Imperial Street. You guys can check that out later if you'd like to. They're selling both of these, and this is commercial, right? They're selling both of these lots together. So, several lots, giving you an opportunity. Let me give you a different scenario. Let's go over to residential. This is a neighborhood where we used to live. This is Highland Park, or right on the outskirts of Highland Park. This home here was being sold with the garage that goes with it. That's over here. Very unique neighborhood. Very, very, very unique. You cannot, like, the streets are so tight. You can barely get a car in and out. And on top of that, there is no turnabout at the end here. So if you're driving with your nose in, you've got to reverse with your nose out. There is no real place to turn around. It looks like there is, but there really isn't. This is the only garage. Everything else is fenced in. There might, no, this one's fenced in too. So you can't even, actually, I think this one's fenced in as well. You can't even turn into anyone's garages. Everyone has it closed off. So there's really no way to turn around. But I remember seeing this property for sale, and then it showed the image of this, and it's very, it has like a lot of teal. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, this is no joke. This is the neighborhood. This is the area. See how there is no real turnabout. Oh, you could kind of turn about there though. But see how tight the area is? I thought that had a fence in front of it, but it doesn't. This teal garage. Oh, I thought I could do it. There we go. Goes to this house here. I went too far. It's so tiny. Goes to this house here that has the teal framing, that garage down there. And this is one of those properties that's really unique. This is something that you can find in older LA, where you have these houses. These are each separate properties, but notice that there's no fence between them. And the best example I have is, we met the people that bought this house, really sweet couple. But that house has no garage, and you cannot park on either of these. You can park over here, but you cannot park on this street, on this side of the street. You can only park on the other side of the street. This house has this 2-car garage. And then this home, really sweet man lives here. We used to walk the dogs. This was my old neighborhood. This gentleman owns this garage. This house owns this garage. This house and this house, as well as this garage, were owned by the parents. We have a sister and a brother now that live in the homes now, and they split the garage. Very normal for this particular neighborhood. And then out of all of a sudden, you've got this other unique property. So these homes, as you can see, there's very eclectic, like my neighborhood. There's no consistency, so it's hard to find value. It's really important for us to be aware that you need to have consistency in the value. Sorry, to find value in the property. But I just showed you, I don't know, like 3 or 4 different types of homes. All right. Economic influence is a big deal. Now, Detroit, Michigan is one place that we know had a lot of economic influence. Back in the day, this would have been the Clinton era. And to this day, this is Detroit, Michigan today. There are parts of Detroit, Michigan that still have not recovered. These are considered blighted areas. It refers to a section of the city, generally the inner city, where most of the buildings are run down and the property values are extremely low. The difference is a lot of Detroit is like this. It's not just the inner city because they were so the automobile industry in those areas was so dominant. Everybody worked for the local automobile industry, like Oldsmobile or Lincoln or whomever. Okay, let's talk about inflation. I think we know what inflation is, right? This is the but when it comes to real estate, this is the unearned increment that affects the property value. So inflation in value is not inflation on the cost of eggs or that your electric. Did anyone else's electrical bill go up? Like, yeah, I was looking at the bill and I looked at Adam and I was like, do we leave the windows open? I started feeling like I could hear my mom's voice say, don't leave the windows open. An unearned increment is the increase in real estate value that comes about from forces outside the control of the owner, such as population increase. Now, we know historically that increase in population comes from a few different things. There's political changes. We are the fifth largest economy in the world, and as the state of California. And my nieces, well, I don't want to identify people. Sorry. Well, I guess you could say my nieces. Some different parts of my family communicated how they felt, and my family is kind of like a 50-50. We've got people on both sides, and then a lot of people in the middle with regards to the political climate. And a number of people were saying, and had friends, especially the young people in my family, they're like, well, what are we going to do? What if we don't agree with the president? And if we don't agree with the president, and I'm like, we're the fifth largest economy in the United States. We as a state will most likely be not just okay, but there's going to potentially be an influx of people. I've heard people say, oh no, people are leaving California, people are leaving America. Look, we are a very forward thinking state. And because we're a forward thinking state, a lot of people come here. So when political changes happen, there's a migration. And so I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that come to California based on the way that we're so forward in our thinking. Being that we're the fifth largest economy, we don't really lean on the federal government for a lot of things. That's why we also have a lot of legislation and a lot of regulatory systems set in place so that we can go, we're good, feds, what's up? You know what I mean? And then lockdown, some went during the lockdown, a lot of people, not just some people, moved out of the state. But we were discussing this over dinner. Who were we with? It had to be family because that was the last thing that we did. And we were talking about how a lot of people were like, oh well, we're just going to be in the lockdown forever, so we're just going to move out of the state and we're just going to buy a place that's in a cozy area, and we're going to do this and that. And then when they weren't on lockdown anymore and they were being required to come back to work, I know people at one of the college, I don't know them, but I was an email, let's put it this way, an email went out that said you must be living in California to be an instructor online for our college. You can't be living in another state. I was like, oof, okay. So anyway, I digress. Some people moved out during lockdown. Business climate is really, really, really important. This image is a projected image of a building that's going to be going up at 5035 Coliseum Street in Los Angeles. Costco is actually building a or a mixed use development. So the presence of shopping areas, offices, medical suites, as well as financial, wholesale, industrial, and other consumer-friendly businesses is important to establishing the value of a property. Now, because Costco is doing this mixed-use development, that means people are going to be living on certain floors. Just like for those of you that have ever gone to the larger AMC 16 in Burbank. I almost said Berkeley. Sorry, guys. In Burbank, California, when you go and you can park at the parking structure, go park at the mall, whatever you want to do. When you go over to AMC 16, AMC 16 on one side is the theater, but on the other side of the theater, it's mixed developments because the bottom floor is all either retail or it's restaurants or it's whatever. But then it's mixed use, meaning there's residential and office space on the levels above. So it's a place where because it's a mixed use development, you have all your needs there, and it's kind of cool. What about obsolescence? A lot of people think, well, that's obsolete, or the obsolescence isn't necessarily thought of in a positive way. Why? Because it may be caused by external or economic changes and decreases the usefulness of a property or causes deterioration. So it's really important for us to think about things. What do we know that is becoming obsolete, or that is associated with obsolescence? I always think of malls, but there's a cool thing about retail spaces where they're converting them into office spaces, or they're converting them into um, event places and different things, because the space is already so large, they can congregate a large group of people. Another Spirit Halloween, absolutely. Spirit Halloween is definitely some a company that focuses on obsolescence, if you will. And if you think about it, Spirit Halloween is genius. I was even talking to one of our friends that is looking at going into retirement. I was like, dude, if you got 50,000 cash that you can just drop into a bucket, you could have one of those Spirit Halloween stores. Just be aware that you're going to have to be it's got a model where you're open for 2 months or whatever, and you've got this lease, and you've got this and this, but you can make 7 figures doing that. And if you did that and you busted your balls for 2 months, I mean, hello, like, it's not a bad idea. I love that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I would do it because I love that, not because of the money, but then you get the money and then you totally love it for the money too. Now, when it comes to social ideals and standards, these also affect the value of properties, right? Population growth could decline, or it could grow. You've got age, marriage, birth, divorce, and death rates. We don't have high death rates. We had the pandemic situation that was global, right? So death rates were calculated in the manner that they were calculated in, but a lot of people aren't having kids anymore. So we've got a strange situation. We've got these buildings that are becoming obsolete because people aren't going to the mall. Yet now people are wanting to go to the mall after the doors opened up again, right? Where we were no longer on lockdown. It's just an interesting concept. We'll be talking more about retail spaces as well, because retail spaces, when we talk about how the lease works, it's really important for us to be aware of how people can keep these places open when nobody's at the mall. And we'll talk about that in one of the next chapters. Okay. Now, the principle of change is really important for us to be aware of. Neighborhoods have what's called a life cycle: growth, maturity, old age, and revitalization. So what did I do? I went and got the picture of the Brady Bunch. I am not old enough to have seen the Brady Bunch when it was on air. I'm only old enough to have seen it in reruns, which isn't bad because I totally thought it was great. And I was always bummed out. That and the Monkeys. I was like, you mean this is an old show? Anyway, young and sweet. Okay. So let's look at the principle of change. An appraiser has to be aware of the trends that affect the value of the real estate, right? We already talked about some of these other things that that are associated with what's trending. All neighborhoods change. They start out as young, dynamic areas. They eventually disintegrate into the process of passing years, and then a property goes through this distinct change of growth, maturity, old age, revitalization. You might also look at it as growth being the development of the neighborhood, maturity meaning that it stabilizes out and that there's a lot of family growth there. A lot of people raise their families, kids go off to college, and then they're empty nesters, and then they downsize into something else, and then another family comes in and fills in, right? And there's the old age, the decline. Then there's the renaissance, the revitalization, which is what happened with this property. So I'm not 100% sure. I think we looked this up in one of my classes on what the sale of this house was back in the 70s, but they remade the house, and it was on like Home and Garden or whatever. For those of you that are part of Home and Garden or the Learning Channel, you'll know what channel it's on. Anyway, they sold it for or it came in at a value of 5.4 million or something like that. And back in the 70s, this house probably went for, I don't know, $70,000 or $50,000 or something like that. So cha-ching, probably 50, because if you look at inflation, if it sold for 5.4 in 2022, I digress. So let's talk about some other terms and definitions. How are we doing on this? How are you guys doing? You guys doing good? 7:31. Are we never going to get through appraisals? You know what? We ended with the Brady Bunch. Okay. I'm trying to only keep you guys for an hour. I'm going to upload this tonight though, and we'll come back. We're on slide 44 of appraisals 11/20/24 because I changed out a few things, and we'll just move forward. We're on slide 44, and I'll put this in chat for you. Okay. You guys have any questions, any concerns? No, no news is good news. You know how I am. Okay. I'm a text message away. I'm an email away. I'm a Weem away. I'm a Zoom away. Um, and we'll just hit the ground running again. All right. All right. All right. And I got some stuff that I want to share with you with regards to if you're taking the property management class right now and you're at Los Angeles Harbor College, please be aware there is a certificate that you can get for taking the 3 classes. And for those of you that don't know what the 3 classes are, I'm going to post that information in the Canvas probably tomorrow. If you are missing any work, submit it. Okay, I cannot give you 100%, but you give me a good story and I might be able to give you 100%. Also, if you send me a link or if you put a document where you're asking me to download it, my system does not, we're in a situation where we don't do downloads. Okay. If you need accommodations because writing isn't a thing, you want to send it another way, let's just talk to your counselor. We'll make that work. Okay. Everybody should have the same opportunity as everybody else in order to pass these classes successfully. Okay. You are the leader of your destiny. And the only way I can support you in leading you or you leading or let me help you, help me, help you, however that works. All right. Don't forget your snacks for next week. Oh, I'll I think I'll do a recording. I mean, I think I'll do a Zoom next week. You guys let me know. I'll put a poll in for the class. Okay. Anyway, all right. All right. I appreciate you. Thank you. No, thank you. I appreciate you guys. Okay. I can, I can totally, I'll send you. I'm getting the messages. Let me. I will send the emails. If you want an email, you email me. I will link all of this information to you. I'm going to drop it into Canvas for those of you that are previous students. If you need help with Prep Agent, if you need help with CompuCram, if you need help with your Quizlets, reach out to me. I can help you. Okay. And we can still do the Zooms. Okay. Meaning a one-on-one. If you're a student that needs help one-on-one, I've got office hours and I've got the other types of hours, which are that I believe in each and every one of you. Okay. So please know you're here for such a time as this. The political climate might be a little cray cray, but just make way for the turkey next week for those of you that are doing the thankfulness of it all. And we're just going to take every day one step at a time. Now, if you're celebrating because the political climate, then sweet, congratulations, this is awesome, this is exactly what you wanted. Then I want to encourage you to continue to just push forward with more success in your life. All right, so we will talk soon. All right, all right, bye bye bye.